Hello, this is Danny Morrow in Tucson, Arizona, and I always make my tapes on YouTube. I like to give my name and my address and phone number and all that kind of information so that people who would like to get in touch with me can do so. And my name is Danny Morrow in Tucson, Arizona. My email is Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, .Marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W, @gmail.com. And my Skype ID is Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, .Marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W. And my office phone is 520-305-4082. I would like to address some issues concerning the shooting of the people at the movie theater in Colorado. CNN has a news reporter by the name of Piers Morgan, I believe. He's from England, and I think they ought to send him back to England. First of all, he consistently is against the gun control in America, in the sense that he thinks the National Rifle Association is responsible for the freedom of Americans to own guns. What he doesn't seem to understand is the National Rifle Association has shot nobody. I'd like for him to tell me one case where a National Rifle Association has shot somebody. The people that have shot somebody are people like the man who shot people here in Tucson, Arizona, a kid, a young man. Obviously he did have a mental problem, and he is now under custody and in the mental hospital. And there have been other shootings that people that tried to assassinate President Reagan. He was captured. He's been in a mental hospital for many years, and one of the men in the party of President Reagan was wounded and was paralyzed. The problem is that if you're going to be a employee of the federal government and going to be in a position next to the President of the United States, that's a risk that you take of getting shot, wounded, injured, murdered, killed, however you want to phrase it. If we remember, President of the United States, Jack Kennedy, was assassinated by a individual, and somebody got shot who was an FBI agent or a Secret Service agent, and so forth and so on. These things happen. And to blame the National Rifle Association is not only unintelligent, but I believe it's anti-American. The National Rifle Association has never shot anyone. The problem I have with people like Piers Morgan, he's British. He doesn't know what he's talking about when he talks about Americans. He's not an American. I think that's pretty clear. He's got a British passport. As far as I know, he's not a U.S. citizen, and he can never really be a genuine U.S. citizen because he was raised in Britain, in England, United Kingdom, and he has no concept about the American mentality as far as weapons or guns are controlled. It is our inalienable right to buy legally and own legally weapons. Another thing that Mr. Morgan and none of these news reporters are bringing out, had there been somebody in the movie who had a legally registered gun on their person, they could have shot this man and stopped the slaughter. But no one had that. By the way, I know this is probably a very simple statement. Where were the police? The police arrive after the fact, not when it's occurring normally. Have you ever known of a police officer being present when someone is going to be murdered in their home? And by the way, some people are murdered with knives and not guns. In case you don't read the news, and you probably never will hear the real news out of CNN anyway. And by the way, in an African country, there was 1 million human beings chopped up by other African human beings with machetes. You don't hear any talk about that on these news programs, not even when it occurred. It was limited in its talking. 1 million people hacked to pieces, men, women, and children, with machetes, not guns. Do you understand, stupid? It is not the gun that kills people. It is people that kill people. And they will kill with a gun, with a machete, with a scissor, with a brick, with a cinder block, with a golf club, anything they get their hands on. If you don't read the news, look at the serial killers that have choked to death. You know, choked with their hands. Hundreds of women. Look at Ted Bundy. How many women did he shoot? He strangled them. Look at the guy in Chicago that killed dozens of women by smothering them to death with their pillow. Well, now we're going to outlaw knives. We're going to outlaw bricks. We're going to outlaw machetes. We're going to outlaw knives. We're going to outlaw pillows because they kill people. There's not a pillow in the 300 million homes in America, 310 millions, that a pillow has killed anybody unless a man or a woman picks it up and puts it over your face and smothers you to death. There's not one brick or cinder block in America that has killed anybody unless a man or a woman picks it up and beats your head in with it. There's not one golf club that has ever killed a human being in America unless somebody, male or female, picks up the club and beats you to death with it. It is ridiculous, the thinking of people like Piers Morgan and like the Brady group that are crying because Mr. Brady ended up paralyzed when he was working with President Reagan. Well, that's a risk of the job, any more than it's a risk of an American military person going into a foreign land to fight and defend our country, and he comes back and his brain has been seriously injured, his lost limbs or whatever. Is it his fault that he went over there to fight and came back in that condition? That's the risk that he took by going into the military. Mr. Morgan, you do not know what you're talking about, and you need to get out of the news media. It doesn't say too much for CNN that they will hire a British person to be a news person in the United States of America. Why didn't they hire a U.S. born American news reporter? You mean we don't have any news reporters in America that are qualified? That our schools of communication are not turning out qualified male and female news people? Now, I resent very much Mr. Piers Morgan's analogy of anything to do with guns and other things that he comes up against the U.S. in the United States of America. And I appreciate if you want to call me face to face on Skype. I'll be happy to talk to you, Mr. Piers Morgan. You are a sorry news reporter. You do not present the facts accurately, and you get emotional about people owning guns. That's a right and a freedom of every citizen in the United States of America. And this guy from the Brady group, he's going to get up a petition that Americans should petition their congressmen and senators. Well, if you don't understand or read the news, the American people did that, and they want to have the freedom of buying and owning a gun. Here the other day in an internet cafe, a man 70-some years old came out of a room after two guys went in with guns and were going to rob the place, and who knows, shot up that place. But he comes out and shoots one of them and shot at the other one, and they ran out the door, and he kept shooting. And some reporter says, well, legally their backs were to him, and he shouldn't have shot him, that he should be arrested. No, he should have shot him dead, and then they would have no case against them. And if he hadn't have been there with his gun, those kids in there using the internet would have been shot up, beat up, or robbed. We have got it wrong about treating criminals in America. There was another man left his cell phone at a Walmart, and when the person that was visiting Walmart found it, thought she was doing a favor and called, it was full of pornographic material with a 4-year-old girl, and his girlfriend was involved, and he had been convicted of 42 felony accounts and put on probation. The judge that gave him that should be fired. Period. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like that I should expound these reasonings, and that we've got to change this thinking. When are we going to understand, if you take away guns from Americans, they'll kill each other with knives and bricks, cinder blocks, golf clubs, automobiles, or anything else they can get their hands on? We're going to take that away too? Thank you for listening.